Hey all, this is Sarah from Creative Typos, Crown of the Oathbreaker, and you're listening to Tale of the Manticore.
The following podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Tale of the Manticore, Season 3. Like the creature from which it takes its name, Tale of the Manticore is a mashup, a crossbreeding between two different species of storytelling. Here you will find the unpredictability of old-school paper and dice games with the storycraft of a dark fantasy novel. No character is sacred, and none will be spared if the dice decide their fate is at hand. According to lore, the tail of a manticore is barbed with cruel iron spikes. There will be much pain in the days ahead. Last time on Tale of the Manticore. In the last chapter, Fairwind starts to believe that he and his companions have crossed a kind of boundary and entered a land where magic is stronger and more chaotic. But it isn't a creature of magic that threatens the party as they make their way ostensibly towards the home of Odok Zygog. Tentir's life is placed in jeopardy when he eats one of the mushrooms given them by the Dryad. He had thought they carried a handful of harmless and nourishing hedgehog mushrooms, but, unfortunately for him, they turned out to be Fool's Funnel, a fungus that resembles the benign kind superficially, but is actually deadly if ingested. Fortune favors the elf, however, for he is able to spit the mushroom out before its poison can enter his system. In the end, he suffers nothing worse than a stomachache. During the following day's travel, the companions emerge from a hilly forest and get a clear view of the mountains to the north. Moreover, Achillea realizes that she recognizes the vista from Odok's sketchbook, so now they are certain the reclusive historian and presumably the end of their quest are not far off. Chapter 37, Part 1, Day 33. 2.5 days from their destination. Evening. Mythic event meaning. Develop intrigues. Party status. Achillea, 13 of 13 hit points. Cord, 18 of 18. Dureni, 16 of 16. Tentir, 19 of 19. Fairwind, 26 of 26. Flicker, 14 of 16. Supplies. The companions have 8 portions of food remaining. Spells available. Achillea can cast Enlarge, Message, Glitter Dust, and Detect Evil. Cord can cast Entangle and Slow Poison. Fairwind can cast Cure Light Wounds and Protection from Evil. The miles fell away under the companions' steady feet as they cut east, keeping the mountains to their left. As the hours passed, the sun disappeared behind them and twilight came on, turning the lofty peaks a dusty purple color. The moon above was a mere sliver, not even a quarter full. So when they discovered a large fir with room beneath its branches for all, the party stopped for the night. After arranging their bedrolls in its fragrant bower, the companions drifted off to sleep, one by one, with Cord and Robin sitting outside, holding silent counsel together. Vivid dreams visited each member of the party, and had anyone been awake there to witness it, they would have seen them tossing and turning in their sleep. Even Flicker dreamed, with her paws running in place as she lay on her side. Once or twice, Dureni moaned aloud. He was having a more intense version of the same dream he'd had the night before, and this was no mere fabrication of his imagination, but a real memory, a haunting one, playing out in real time. Dramatis Personae. Dureni. 10 years ago. 1 minute he had been lifting chests, listening to Erlen counting iron ingots, and the next he was running for his life. Orc raiders had smashed open the doors of the dwarven trading post, bellowing in bloodlust and swinging axes, maces, and swords. Poor Ardnor, the gentle dwarf who had once confided in Dureni that he would rather have become a builder than a trader, was the first to die, his skull split in two by an orcish blade. 3 other dwarves and 1 elf had been cut down before even a basic defense could be organized. Kivish and Ashleet had been cut down in fountains of bright crimson. Poor Erlin had taken a spear in the eye. Now they were outnumbered 2 to 1, and the only option was,
"Run! Make for the trees!"
The old crow's voice rang out in Elvish, and by instinct, Dureni and the 3 others who were still alive obeyed. The dwarves did not join them, but stood their ground. Dureni knew that with their proud race, to die in combat, especially when greatly outnumbered, was considered desirable. Not so with the elves, who valued their skins above their legacies. Including the old crow and Dureni, 5 elves broke free of the trader's hut and sprinted for the tree line. The orcs were not long in taking up pursuit. It took mere moments for them to butcher the meager dwarven resistance, and then they gave chase. Dureni's heartbeat banged in his eardrums as he raced to the tree line and then beyond. Whereas they had been laboring all day long, the orcs were fresh, and soon the whooping calls of their enemy could be heard, getting louder by the second. That's why, when they reached a small clearing, the old crow called a halt. Though winded, he managed to get out a breathless command.
"You and the others, go ahead. I'll stay and delay them."
Dureni hesitated, shaking his head no. Using the old crow's real name, he gasped.
"I'm not going to leave you to fight them alone, Rayleigh."
The old crow rounded on him with intensity.
"And I'm not asking. Now go! Don't you make this be for nothing."
Dureni was compelled. He sped off after his fellows, who had not waited. Hours later, exhausted, Dureni arrived home. The arrival of his fellows had already stirred up a commotion in the settlement, but the orcs did not follow. He and the others were safe. The old crow, however, would never be seen again. That new detail in Dureni's backstory is my attempt to use the event meaning, develop intrigues. Dureni's memory of the escape from the orcs at the trader's hut is a source of guilt, because ever since that day, he has wondered if he should have disobeyed the old crow and stayed to fight beside him. Perhaps if he had, they both might be alive now. While not precisely an intrigue, I think the idea of Dureni questioning his decision gets the job done, if obliquely. So I guess I need a new pair of words from the mythic tables, using D percentile. 52 and 41. Those rolls give me adjourn advice. Adjourn. I'm going to be honest, I had to look up this word to be really sure it meant what I thought. It didn't. I thought it would indicate to end or terminate, as in meeting adjourned, but the dictionary says it actually means to put off until later or postpone. Postpone advice. No ideas coming to mind, but I'm sure it'll make sense when the time is right. While I have the story on pause, I'm also going to do hex crawl rolls for day 34. A quick note to say that even though I will begin the next section of the story in the morning, I'll update the spells available list in advance, both for those that have been newly memorized and for those I anticipate will be used later in the day, namely Cord's spells of locate plants and animals and create water. With that said, we're ready to begin. For weather, an 18. The day is slightly overcast and cool, even better for traveling than it has been of late. Stumble upon. A 4 means no result. Foraging with Cord's help. A 2. These lands seem to be quite bountiful, judging by recent foraging rolls. I'll figure out exactly what this looks like in the narrative, but before I do that, there's a wandering encounter roll to make. Hoping for a low roll here. Nope, I got a 5. So there will be an encounter. Maybe with some luck, it'll be another sketchbook encounter. Will it? I see. Chapter 37. Part 2. Day 34. 1.5 days from their destination. Early morning. Mythic event meaning. Adjourn advice. Party status. Achillea. 13 of 13 hit points. Cord, 18 of 18. Dureni, 16 of 16. Tentir, 19 of 19. Fairwind, 26 of 26. Flicker, 15 of 16 after receiving 1 point of natural healing. Supplies. The companions have 8 portions of food remaining. Spells available. Achillea can cast Enlarge, Message, Glitter Dust, and Detect Evil. Cord can cast Entangle and Slow Poison. Fairwind can cast Cure Light Wounds and Protection from Evil.
What is the matter?
You were moaning in your sleep and crying out, Dureni. Your face was all screwed up, too, like this.
Achillea contorted her face into an exaggerated copy of the distress she'd seen on the elves. Dureni sat up and ran his fingers through his hair, which he found to be damp with cold sweat. He rubbed his eyes.
I had a very intense dream. That is all.
We all had strange dreams, just like last night. I think Fairwind is right. There's something different about these lands.
Something that hadn't ever occurred to her intruded on Achillea's thoughts at that moment. She turned to Cord.
I suppose you've never had a dream before, have you?
She asked. The construct twisted back and forth to indicate that he had not.
No, of course you wouldn't have. You don't sleep. But it must seem a very strange thing, then, to hear us talking about ours.
The side-to-side motion served as a shrug.
I wonder what you'd dream about if you could.
She trailed off, suddenly noticing something.
Cord, come closer.
The pink flower that Dureni had received from the Dryad and had in turn given to the construct seemed now to be attached to his barky chest. Achillea pointed it out, adding,
And I'm positive that you're taller than when we started out.
Even Fairwind, who had known Cord for the shortest amount of time out of all of the companions, was aware that Cord had been going through changes that showed no sign of stopping. I know I have a wandering encounter to figure out, but before I do that, I need to take Cord through the level up process, because today he reaches level 5. He'll get a d6 of new hit points. Rolling for that. 6! Wow! 18 goes to 24. This is a good level up already. Next, a quick check with the books to see if anything special happens for a druid at 5th level. Okay, so there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that no special ability is unlocked at this stage, though Cord's connection with Robin will continue to develop. And, I think going forward, this improvement will get passed on to the bird. The very good news is that level 5 blows open a druid's ability to cast spells. Now, in addition to Cord's 2 first and 2 second level spells, he will be able to cast 1 of 3rd and 1 of 4th. Since these are innate abilities, and not spells or prayers, I'll rule that he gets access to these right away. Like before, I'm rolling at random to see what they'll be. For his 3rd level spell-like power, Cord will get a 3 is Hold Animal. Fantastic. It takes no imagination to see how that might be useful. Now for the 4th level spell-like ability, it's going to be a 4 gives me Speak with Plants. I mean, it's perfect. The dice gods continue to thrill and delight. A quick look at these spell descriptions tell me that Hold Animal can work on multiple animals and can affect giant animals too. Speak with Plants could be used to gather information, can clear a path, and it can be used on plant-based monsters. Isn't that interesting? Chapter 37 Part 3 Day 34 1 day from their destination. Afternoon. Mythic event meaning. Adjourn advice. Party status. The party status is unchanged, with the exception of Cord, who may now also cast Hold Animal and Speak with Plants. Edu's hit points have increased to 24 out of 24. This day was a little unusual in that Robin, who typically spent every single hour perched on Cord's head or shoulder, flew on ahead. Every so often he would return, pipe something into the wooden man's painted ear, and then fly off again. The companions were walking in single file, with Tentir a little ways ahead, scouting. He was followed by Dureni, then Cord, with Fairwind, Flicker, and Achillea in the rear. The half-elf and the cleric of Sidal were discussing their dreams and exchanging theories about the nature of the region they currently traversed. This drew ireful glances from Dureni, who preferred to walk in silence and had been irritable all day because of his own dreams.
You worry too much.
Achillea had said at one point, catching the look. Dureni had scowled, and she had laughed, which made Flicker bark excitedly. In a nearby woods, the distant sound of a dog barking caused a sleek, black, feline shape to tense, ears lifted. A low growl started in the back of its velvet, black throat. After rolling for a wandering encounter and determining that there would be one, I then rolled on a subtable to see what kind it would be. It was not, as I'd hoped, another sketchbook encounter. Instead, I got a 5, which indicated exotic, dangerous. For that, I needed to make a sub-table with about 6 options. It took me forever to find 6 good candidates, which came as a surprise. I thought it'd be easy, but as I looked through the basic, then the expert rules, and then the Monster Manual 1, Fiend Folio, and Monster Manual 2, I came across very few candidates that would work. In the end, I came up with the following potential monster encounters. On a 1, there would be 2 owlbears. On a 2, 1 displacer beast. On a 3, 1 or more evil tree monster or whatever that might end up being. On a 4, a hydra. On a 5, 2 ettercaps. And on a 6, 2 or 3 needlemen. I probably don't need to tell you what I rolled. In the afternoon, right after Robin returned from one of his trips, Cord called a halt. He pointed first to a woods, a mile or so distant, and slightly off course, then to the spot on his abdomen where his stomach would be if he'd possessed one. The others took his meaning and adjusted their march in the direction of the woods. As they came closer, they could see that it was dense with growth. Ferns, bushes, maples, and further in, sumac with its easily recognizable, fuzzy red berries. These berries were edible and had a tangy, lemony flavor. Tentir, predictably, did not partake of the sumac berries, and instead miserably crunched on dry massenbell. The elven food, made of moss and algae, had a fairly bland flavor, and Tentir did not dislike it. All the same, he felt depressed, once again knowing he might never taste berries again. Sprite's curses could not be removed, and many of them, especially the minor ones like his, lasted forever. He stared at his boots as he chewed. It was not a noise, but a sudden feeling of being watched that made the young elf lift his head and look up into the branches of a nearby maple. When he did, he saw a pair of bright green eyes with vertical pupils staring back down at him. With massenbell crumbs still stuck to his lips, he muttered, "Oh no." There is a displacer beast in the tree within pouncing distance of the party, but it is not Tentir the creature is really intent on. This kind of monster, which is essentially a large black panther with 6 legs and a pair of barbed tentacles growing from its shoulders, hates blink dogs. The expert rules specifically says they will, quote, always attack them and anyone traveling with them, unquote. So, no need for a reaction roll, in other words. Other than being tough and deadly, displacer beasts also have a special ability. They always appear 3 feet from their actual position, which makes them hard to hit. Mechanically, this is represented by subtracting 2 from any 2-hit rolls made against them. The displacement ability also gives the creature a +2 on all saving throws. Stat-wise, displacer beasts have an armor class of 16. Their tentacles each do 2 to 8 points of damage on a hit, and they have 6 hit dice. This particular one has 30 hit points, which is above the min-out of 24, so it's a pretty big one. Additionally, even though the rules don't give it any special ability to stalk and ambush prey, I think it should have this ability. So I will roll that in this encounter, the party can be surprised, but the monster cannot. Here's the roll for surprise. Yikes, I got a 1. so the party is caught off guard, and the monster will get one free attack as combat begins.
Entering combat.
Round 1. Surprise round. With a hiss, the Displacer Beast launches itself at Flicker. It gets 2 attacks with its tentacles and needs an 11 to hit the Blink Dog's armor class of 15. Here come the rolls. An 18 and a 9 means one of those tentacles does connect, doing 5 points of damage from its barbed pad that rips a bloody path along Flicker's haunch. The Blink Dog yelps in surprise, then surges forward, barking with savage ferocity as its enemy prepares to pounce again. Round 2. Initiative. The party. A 3. The Displacer Beast. A 2. While caught flat-footed, the party members' instincts take over, and their weapons are out in a flash. Flicker is the first to attack, blinking away and then back, right behind the Displacer Beast. A 16 is required to hit. But an 11 is not enough. It was not where Flicker had expected it to be, and in fact, its position seems to shift and swim in front of everyone's eyes as the thing moves about. Next up is Tentir, who's the first to see the monster. He strikes with the Sword of Lirhain, needing a 15 to hit. A 15 connects, and does 4 points of damage. The Displacer Beast's blood is almost invisible against its glossy, black fur. Dureni is next, needing a 16 to hit. A 4. The elf's sword carves through the air, fully 2 feet to the left of the creature's actual position. It's Cord's turn. Boom! Natural 20! Cord has figured out the monster's special defense. He aims for the spot next to where he thinks it should be, and cleaves the monster for 12 points of damage. Splat! This brings the Displacer Beast down to just 14 hit points, less than half its maximum. It'll have to pass a morale check to stay in this fight. But before we get to that, Fairwind is up. Unlike Cord, the cleric is baffled by the monster's dissolving after images. He'll need an 18 to hit with his cudgel. A 10 misses. Achillea pulls out her dagger, waiting for the right moment to throw it. But the melee is too thick with allies for her to find a clear shot. She holds her action. Now it's the Displacer Beast's turn. Unfortunately for it, and fortunately for the PCs, it lost the initiative, meaning Flicker is able to blink away before it can counterattack. Worse, or better, depending on your perspective, it must also make a morale check. The rules assign this monster a morale of 8, so on 2d6, a 9 or better means it will flee. I got a 7, so it will stay and fight. Now, even though I think it's the hatred of Blink Dogs that keeps it here, I still think there's a chance this monster will change targets. A 1 to 2 on a d6 means it will. The roll. A 1. It does. The new target will be Fairwind. An odd choice, but we'll chalk it up to the heat of battle. It is round 3. Initiative. The party. 1. The Displacer Beast. A 6. Fairwind is standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. Both of the creature's tentacles whip out, and they only need a 6 to hit his terrible AC of 10. Here come the rolls. A 17 and a 9. Predictably, both hit, ripping across the cleric's more or less exposed flesh for a total of 9 points. It's the PC's turn to fight back. With luck, they could end the fight this round. Flicker blinks in and strikes low, going for one of the enemy's 6 powerful legs. But a 5 misses. Tentir is next. An 11, no good. Can Dureni connect this time? He needs a 16. A 12 means he cannot. The Displacer Beast moves in such a way as to take full advantage of its special ability. It feints left and right, leaving a fading, residual onion skin image behind. Cord picked out the pattern last round. Can he do it again? A 19. Cord, you are truly my hero. His axe will do just 3 points of damage, but the forest floor is now wet with Displacer Beast blood. It has just 11 hit points remaining. Fairwind strikes. A 12 is not enough. Achillea, unable to find an opportunity to throw her knife, dashes in to try to stab the beast. She'll need an 18 to hit it. A 9 is a miss. Well, so much for ending the fight this round. We move on to round 4. Initiative. The party. A 6. The Displacer Beast. A 6. Everyone clashes all at once. Will the monster change targets this round? A 2. Yes, it will. Who will it be? Ah, that makes sense. Recognizing the greatest threat to its survival, the muscular cat-like monster coils and springs at Cord. An 8 and a 13. That's one hit. Cord takes 6 points of damage as a barbed tentacle slashes across his barky front. The wooden construct retaliates. A 6. He was not expecting the sudden assault, and the best he can do with his axe is to deflect one of the incoming tentacles. Flicker blinks in and goes for the monster's throat. A 16 just hits. Damages 4 points. A brutal strike. Can Tentier land another blow? He'll certainly try. A 9 misses. Dureni is up. Boom! Natural 20! Wow, that is 2 in one fight. And I see there's no need to roll damage. With just 7 hit points left, even a roll of 1 will kill it because of the crit. This time, Dureni takes a second to study the creature's movements. He notices that its blood is not dripping from where the monster appears to be, so he aims his blade for the space to its right and above the blood. There's a satisfying crunch as the tip of his sword pierces the monster's throat. Emitting a throaty gargle, the monster convulses and drops to the ground, dead. Thanks for listening to Tale of the Manticore. If you'd like to support the show, there are many ways to help. You can recommend it online or to friends. You can like and repost episode announcements on social media. You can pick up a Tale of the Manticore t-shirt at beararts.store or one of my offerings on DriveThruRPG. Rating and reviewing the show on your favorite podcatcher is always helpful, too. Thanks to my awesome listeners for their continued support. Speaking of awesome listeners, at this time, I'd like to read a listener review. This one is from Matt on Audible. Matt writes, I discovered this podcast through an interview with the creator. I must say I'm even more impressed with and addicted to this story than I could have expected. This is such an original concept. I highly recommend this, especially for old school gamers and fantasy geeks. Thanks very much, Matt. Reviews like this really do mean the world to me. I'm so glad that you discovered the show and that you're enjoying it. I really appreciate that you took the time to write a review, too. Cheers to all old school gamers and fantasy geeks everywhere. Cheers are also due to my cast of voice actors. Today it's Kylan and Kevin Berenger, giving us Dureni and Tentier. And these two fine actors are joined by Chris Old Crow Atkinson in the role of the Old Crow. Thanks very much, Kylan, Kevin, and Chris. For those curious to learn more about Tale of the Manticore, I keep a blog where I post all kinds of show and RPG-related stuff, like sketches, maps, tables, crafts, and show notes. You can find it at taleofthemanticore.com. To get in touch with me, I'm at soloroleplayersnetwork.com, taleofthemanticore.bluesky.social, Tale of the Manticore podcast on Instagram, or taleofthemanticore@gmail.com. Please get in touch. I would love to hear from you. The adventure will continue on the next episode of Tale of the Manticore. It's the story where chaos rolls.